That text right there from my dad was really special. All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. This is Grant Anderson, Coach Grant at Kettlebell Grant on IG. Follow me. And today, I wanted to tell you a story of probably one of my proudest moments recently. And it was a text that my dad sent me not too long ago. And to give you guys context for this, I'm going to go back in time to the middle of March. So back in the middle of March, which right now is about 3.5 months ago, my dad and I went on a big road trip. So we road tripped from Chicago to Phoenix because I was going out to Phoenix for a couple of months. If you know me, follow me on Instagram or whatever, you know that I'll travel a lot. And Phoenix is usually a place that I go to because I have good friends who live in Phoenix. We have clients who live in Phoenix. And so I'll go there a lot. I'll go there at least once or twice a year. And so I was headed out to Phoenix. And so I said to my dad, I was planning on driving. So I had a car out there. And I said to my dad, I said, hey, do you want to take a road trip with me? And I'll drive. We can drive out to Phoenix together. And once you get there, you can hang out for a couple of days and then you can fly back to Chicago. And my dad was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm in. And so it was number one, it was a very, very special few days because anyone who's got, parents that you're close with, or I feel like for me personally, I've gotten closer with my dad in my late 20s and in my 30s than I did even when I was a kid. I feel closer to my dad now than I've ever felt in my entire life. And so it was a really special moment to be able to road trip across country, not across country, but almost across country with my dad. And one of the things that we talked about on the trip obviously was kettlebells. And we talked about training. We talked about working out. And when my dad, funny enough, anyone who follows me on Instagram knows that my mom trains with kettlebells consistently. And my parents are divorced. They've been for a long time, but my mom trains with kettlebells. She's at Kettlebell Grandma on Instagram. So if you don't follow her, go give her a follow right now. And so we got on the topic of kettlebells, we got on the topic of training. We got on the topic of my dad being like, oh man, I always see your mom. I see your mom training and throw around those bells. She's crazy. And I've little by little been, poking my dad, little by little been like, Dad, listen, if you ever really want to learn this stuff, I can teach you obviously how to do this stuff from a foundational sense. I can teach you and we can get you going. And, it's everyone, including my parents, people who are the closest to me, everyone has their own resistance, has their own, reasons as to why I can't work out at a time, whatever it is, right? You might be dealing with that. Someone listening to this, trying to get healthier, listening to this podcast, you might be thinking about how all the times you give yourself the excuse that as the reasons why you can't work out. And funny enough, for over the years, there had always been reasons as to why my dad couldn't quite get it figured out. And on this trip, it kind of clicked for him. On this trip, he was like, no, he's like, you know what? I want to start learning. And that was when I knew there was like this sliver. There was this sliver of opportunity for my dad to start to learn kettlebells and start to really go down this journey and this path that I think there's this moment for everyone. And I know this especially for our guys that we work with inside of Kettlebell Transformation. And I think this happens for everyone in general whenever they make a decision to get healthier, and it's the actual decision. I mean, like the final decision that they make. There's this moment of synergy where it becomes real for you, where you believe in the outcome and the benefits of the outcome. And you reach a point where it's like, okay, I know I need to make the changes that I want to make because that outcome is worth it. And that is the moment. That moment of synergy is the moment where you make the decision and then you never have to make it again. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that you're going to get in incredible shape, 5% body fat, and you're going to maintain that for the rest of your life. That's not the point. It just means that you're never going to have to make that decision where you're like, you have fallen off the wagon completely and you have to choose to get back on it. You never have to make that decision again. And I think it was on this trip that my dad made that decision. Now, my dad had always been active, great tennis player, incredible tennis player, kicks my ass on the tennis court. I get him back on the golf course. My dad had always been active, but he had never trained consistently, never worked out consistently. And he mentioned to me on this trip, that when he was a kid, he tried lifting and he tried doing deadlifts. And I think he popped something in his back when he was a kid. And I think that when he was young, and I think that was the thing that scared him, right? That was the thing that was like, you get injured once and just like fool me once, shame on me. And he never came back to it, right? And so I think that was the one reason that I always kind of kept him away from kettlebells, was like his fear of getting injured. And I think he just got to a point where he's like, all right, I want to learn. He's like, obviously I see you and I see your mom throwing around these big heavy bells. This is something that I can learn. And he made the decision. It was a moment of synergy. He was like, okay, I want to make the choice to learn this skill and to start practicing it and to make it a part of my lifestyle so that I can just do this consistently, because he felt the outcome was worth the commitment. And so we did this 3-day road trip. it took us 3 days to get to Phoenix. So we went from Chicago to Albuquerque, or Chicago to, I forget where we stopped the first night. And then we went to Albuquerque, and then we went to Phoenix. And along the way at the hotels, we like stopped and we like, okay, let's go down. It was like, we got there late, like 6 o'clock at night. And it was like, hey, all right, we got to go to the gym. We got to go get the bells and go to the gym. We got to work on this stuff. And my dad was suggesting it. Whereas like normally we would just get there and hang out and then we go out to eat and then it'd be like, that was it, right? There's no reality in the past where my dad and I go to the gym together. That just wasn't a thing, right? And so we each night, like both nights on the way there, it's like, hey, we got to go to the gym. We got to work on our bells. And then when we were in Phoenix, he stayed with me for 5, 6, 7 days. I forget how long it was. And every day it was little by little, hey, I want to practice. And it was like I kind of took him through the same onboarding process that we take our new clients with in KT, because when someone becomes a new client of ours in KT, we do a 2-week onboarding where it's very focused on building your technique and making sure you get to a point where you're confident that, okay, if you go follow a program, follow a progression, you're not going to be worried about anything. And so I did that with my dad while he was with us in Phoenix. Little by little, we chipped away at his technique. Little by little, we got him to a point where he was swinging a 35, then a 44, then a 53-pound bell. And by the end of those few days in Phoenix, he was doing I think he was doing 7 to 8 sets of 10 with the 53-pound bell. Probably really solid swings, really pretty good swings. And it took him a little while. It took him a little while to get his mind-body connection to the point where he was actually doing things the right way and he was feeling it in his body the right way, which, like, if any of you ever struggle with back pain or you do swings and you're like, I get hurt doing swings, it's not the swing's fault, right? It's never the swing's fault. It's the technique's fault. And it takes a while. Like that's why this is a skill. Kettlebell training is very much a skill that you have to learn in order to really master so that you can progress and get better. And so we took our time, right? We took our time over the course of that week to really dive in and get the technique right so that when he went back to Rockford, where we are from, he could practice on his own. And so I wrote my dad this little progression. I said, all right, 3 days a week, you're going to do swings. Here's how you're going to build up from only doing 5 sets to doing 10 sets. And then here's how we're going to build up once we get to 10 sets of 10. Here's how we're going to start to slowly build your weight over time. And I wrote him this 10-week program. We're swinging 3 days a week. And so then my dad leaves and he goes back and he starts checking in with me once a week. And I always told him, I said, listen, like, I'm not going to pester you about this because I'm not going to twist your arm and hold you accountable. Like, you have to want to do this. And so you can send me videos every single week and I will critique them for you. And I will give you feedback every single week so that you can continue to refine and you can continue to get better and you can feel confident that you're doing things the right way. And so every week, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, my dad would send me videos and he'd send me his like last couple sets of his day, of his work, of his swings that week or that day. And every week we would refine, we go back and forth, we tweak things. I would send him feedback as if he was a client on these personalized video feedbacks, making sure that he knew what he was doing wrong, what he was doing right, what he needed to fix, where he needed to feel it in his body. And little by little, he got better. And that brings us to the point where he sends me this text that was probably one of the proudest moments of maybe one of my adult life, because my dad has also been watching me and Sean and my team and this company, Kettlebell Transformation. He's been watching us build this company over the last few years. He watched us build and grow Chicago Primal Gym, and he watched us shut that down and then build Kettlebell Transformation since the end of 2021. And so he's always watched the different iterations and heard from me about the different iterations of how we've built this business and the clients that we're working with, and what they come in and they invest with us to work with us one-on-one to really teach them this skill set and to really customize a program for them. And my dad, I think he watched from afar and he could see it, but I think it took him a little while to understand it for himself. And I think it almost took him training with kettlebells for a whole 6 weeks on his own before it actually finally clicked for him, the change that this can make in an individual's life. And I think that's what happened. That's what led to him sending this text to me. And I'm going to read this to you. And so he said, okay, so I'm 4 weeks in and I'm already collecting interest on what I define as stealth wealth. Love that. He said, stealth wealth is the investment a person makes in their individual well-being that ultimately defines their physical wealth. What good is financial independence if your physical ability is really limited? A rich man in poor health has no real wealth and very few options. The real capital gains come from your ability to manifest and prioritize a lifestyle that allows you to be physically independent, and from there, all other financial opportunities are possible. Stealth wealth is in the knowing that you are investing in your ability to maintain a healthy, strong body. And there is no greater wealth than that. And boy, I tell you what, that text right there that my dad sent me was the one thing that my dad, I think, watching us build and grow, especially kettlebell transformation over the last 4 years, it was the one thing that he didn't quite understand himself. He didn't quite fully get himself until he started doing it for himself, until he went through the process himself, started training with bells, actually felt himself getting stronger, felt his body getting better, felt himself moving better, sleeping better, having more energy, and getting stronger and changing his physical well-being. It didn't click or become real for him until he had done it. And so I think he had two moments. He had the moment of synergy where he's like, okay, I know I need to do something. I need to make a decision. That's going to be the last time I have to ever make this decision again. I know I got to choose it, start doing it, and then never give up. And then number two, a second moment of synergy was this text right here. Him truly to his core, from his own personal experience, understanding the outcome of his investment, the ROI on his investment, the ROI on his time invested, on his energy invested, on his focus invested, on his body invested, on him doing the work. And you can never fully understand that until you get in, you start doing the work. And so I wanted to share this with you. I told you this was going to be a very short podcast, because that text right there from my dad was really special. It was something that I think I'll cherish for a very long time, because not only does he understand where I'm coming from and the type of change that we're trying to make and help guys make in their lives, but he understands it for himself. Like, he understands it for him and his own body. And I have so much gratitude for it, because it means that now, for the rest of my dad's life, I know that I have a dad who understands the importance of taking care of his own body. And so as a son, looking at his father and being so damn happy and just so full of gratitude that he's going to be around as long as he can, because he's going to control the things that he can control. There's going to be stuff that he can't control, of course, but he's going to control the things that he can control. And that's going to lead to us being able to continue to play golf together, to be able to continue to go skiing together, to be able to continue to live life together and enjoy the times that we're going to have together. Someday, if I have kids, he's going to be able to be a grandpa. He's going to be able to lift that kid around. He's going to be able to run around with that kid. Like my dad, I know that he understands what it takes now to unlock that. And there is just nothing that I would want more from my parents than their investment into their own health, into controlling the things that they can control, so that I can have them around for a very long time. Because as I said at the beginning, my relationship with my parents has been better in my 20s and 30s than it was when I was a kid. And I think it's just, you get a different perspective when you get older, right? You start to have a more of a understanding that they're not going to be around here forever. And the fact that now both of my parents are controlling, their strength and doing what they can to control their health is a very unique thing to me. And it's something that I feel very grateful for. And the fact that my dad put it in terms of understanding an ROI on your investment, understanding that like any type of financial wealth that you have means nothing if you are 70 years old and you can't move, if you can't run around with your kids or your grandkids, if you can't get out and do the things that you enjoy doing, playing tennis, playing golf, going for a hike, skiing, snowboarding, whatever it may be. If you can't do those things and enjoy doing them, have the body to do them, then you don't have wealth. What good is the money in the account if you can't, like, what good is being able to go fly to Italy if you can't walk around the city all day without feeling like your knees are tired, or being worried about sitting on the plane and taking up too much space because you're big? Like, those are real things. And so it was very cool for my dad to define it in terms of what wealth means from a physical sense. That is how we think through things. That's what we believe in. And it's something that we believe changes people's lives forever. And it impacts not only you, but your entire family and your kids and your relationship with your kids especially. So if I have any dads listening to this, your kids one day are going to wish that you took care of yourself, because they're going to be 20, 30, 40 years old wanting to be hanging out with you when you're 70, 75, 80, 85 years old. I appreciate you guys listening to that, because it was a pretty cool moment in my life. And I just wanted to share. I thought it was an important message to share. And shout out to my pops. I love you. You're the man. Keep swinging. And it's not about being perfect, y'all. It's just about making that first decision and then never giving up, so you never have to make it again. With that being said, I hope you guys are having a very strong week. Show up, hit your bells. And if you need help, or if you know you're looking for help and coaching and accountability, make sure to check out Kettlebell Transformation. Go to our website, check out kettlebelltransformation.co. Follow me or Sean on Instagram at Kettlebell Sean, at Kettlebell Grant. We are obviously here to help. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.